Welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, I'm so excited to have Amanda Furbee, who is a Portland-based herbalist, entrepreneur, and educator who is going to guide us into our kitchens to help us find the best healing herbs that you probably have right now in your refrigerator or your pantry. And if you don't have them, you can easily access them from the grocery store. I am so excited for this conversation. Ever since I was little, I've been fascinated by plants and herbs and essential oils. I started using essential oils before it was a thing. In fact, I remember carrying lavender oil with me as a new teacher in like the 90s, like 96, 97. I took a group of kids from Sturgis, South Dakota, where I was teaching. I was the choir director there. And we went to a jazz festival in Fort Collins, Colorado, and one of the kids got a really serious migraine headache, and the medicine that he was taking was not working. And so I offered him some lavender oil on his wrists and on his temples, and his headache improved. So I've been fascinated by herbs and essential oils and spices and plants my whole life. So I was so excited to meet Amanda, and I can't wait for you to meet her too. You are going to absolutely love this conversation. Get ready to take some notes if you're a note taker, because Amanda's going to be sharing all the different herbs and plants and oils that you might use to enhance and improve your life, heal your body, heal your mind, and even which oils and herbs are best for accessing intuition. Let's dive into this conversation with Amanda Furbee. Hi, Amanda.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part.
Oh, me too. I'm excited for this conversation because we're going to unlock people's kitchens and turn them into a medicine cabinet. And I cannot wait. But before we dive in, I'd love to know, what is one thing you either did or did not do that has led to your yes-filled life?
Oh, wow. So just getting into herbal medicine in general was a huge leap of faith. I did design work for 12 years before this, totally unrelated field, and really just had a vision to get into herbal medicine about almost 14 years ago now. And really threw me kind of for a curveball because, I had this set plan in my brain about what I was going to be doing with my life. But it was a really direct message, and it brought me from the East Coast to Portland, and to the herb shop that's been around since 2005. But I jumped in 2011 and immediately fell in love with what I was doing, had absolutely no idea what I was doing or, even how to pronounce most of the Latin words and things like that. So it was definitely a journey and a leap of faith. And, I feel like I'm always encouraging people like, well, listen to your intuition and follow it because it's leading you and guiding you to, your true potential in life and your true purpose. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm wondering, how did your intuition speak to you? Was it a knowing? Was it a curiosity? How did that work for you? You've built the success. You're respected, accomplished, and good at what you do. But If you're honest, you're still editing yourself to stay likable, carrying more than anyone knows, and wondering when leadership will finally feel lighter. This fall, join me for Your Yes Filled Life, a 12-week group experience for ambitious, intuitive leaders ready to stop shrinking and start showing up fully expressed. You'll practice nervous system tools, boundaries that hold, and voice activation that connects to your truth so you can lead with clarity, calm, and resonance. Enrollment is open now at brendawinkle.com/ your yes filled life. That's brendawinkle.com/ your yes filled life. Your yes filled life starts now. So I'm wondering, how did your intuition speak to you? Was it a knowing? Was it a curiosity? How did that work for you?
I mean, I guess it all kind of started because I was on 3 month sabbatical, taking a break and, decompressing and trying to figure out my next moves in life. And I stumbled into an herb shop in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and got some passion flower because was having anxiety and stress and all the things for the next, part of life. And so I, took that passion flower and was like, wow, this like worked immediately for me. I mean,
Mm.
it was life changing. And then that same first day that I took that passion flower, all of a sudden I just started getting these like visions. I mean, it was just like, visions of a wellness property, visions of herbal medicine. And at that point in my life, I was really asking some hard questions about, what did I want with my life? What's important to my life? Like, what really makes a difference in the world? And, what's something that's always needed and, viable? And it brought me straight to herbal medicine.
Oh my gosh. And so I love this story, and I'm just imagining what it would be like if I was to take a leap into something I didn't know anything about. And well, I mean, I guess I have done that in a number of ways. And I'm curious, did imposter syndrome ever come up for you as you were navigating this, or because you were coming into a shop, did that not really play a part?
I mean, I feel like there was just so much to learn. It was like this crash course. And imposter syndrome, maybe not. I'm not sure if that's the right word exactly, but definitely like, what am I doing? Like, how
Mhm.
did I get here? But I loved it so much. And it just felt like this download of information that had already been with me for so many years or lifetimes or whatever it
Mhm.
might be. And so, there was definitely points that I was questioning things and like, am I doing this right? Am I not doing it right? But again, it became this really big lesson and, not only researching and talking to people and taking lots of herbal education, just absorbing that, but also really trusting my gut and my instincts on like what information was coming in to me.
I love that. So many of us have the intuitive hits. We know in our guts what's right for us, and it's really difficult to trust it for some people. Was that something that you had always done? Had you always been able to trust your intuition, or is it something you cultivated?
Um, I think yes and no again. I think that for especially my childhood and stuff, I feel like I was really intuitive, but didn't really know what it was, trying to understand how and what this information is that was coming in. Um, but at the same time, this was such a direct like message that I could not deny it. There was like nothing in my body. I mean, anytime I was like, well, maybe I'll go back to like doing what I was doing before. Like that's what I'm educated in. That's
Mhm.
what I know I'm good at, all those type of things. But it literally was just this message that was like, no, it was like, don't stop, don't collect $200. You have to keep going. And it was really powerful. And, at the time, everyone I knew, friends and family, they were kind of shaking their heads and going, what are you doing exactly? What is an herbalist and what is herbalism? Like, it wasn't a very well, known thing within my friend group or family group. And so I just said, I don't know. I just have to go do this. Like, I can't really explain it to anybody except for that I feel like I'm really being called to go into this line of work and understand it. So that's what I did.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Really good story, and I relate to it on so many levels. And one of the things that I personally experienced when I was moving away from education into the work that I do now is there was this moment, and it didn't last long, but it was really powerful, where I questioned if I was sane. Because
Okay.
what I was asking myself to do was completely beyond convention. There was no roadmap. It was literally against everything I had been taught about safety, security, and that kind of thing. And so there was this moment where I was like, am I okay? Like,
Yes, yes, yes. Well, so much of that is our programming, right? We're like taught, okay, you have to have the 2.5 kids and the white picket fence and, get your college education and all these things. So, we go through all these steps in life that we're, told we have to do. But then that intuition kicks in, right? And you're like, oh, whoa, this is way different.
yeah, exactly. And so I teach people how to access their intuition. So it comes in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And there's no like one tried and true way that intuition speaks. It can be a knowing, it can be hearing a sentence, it can be a feeling, it can be a combination of all those. It can come in through other people, where they are sort of picking up or tracking something that you might be thinking about. And I just love how much trust you had in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I had to. It was like there was nothing that was going to let me not do it, if that makes sense. I
Mhm.
felt just this very large push, I guess, if you want to call it. It was like put your blinders on, don't get distracted. Like you
Mhm.
have to do this, and I mean, leaving North Carolina and everything I'd known for 12 years there, and then just packing my bags and moving to Oregon where I really didn't know anyone or what I was doing. Yeah, it was a big trust factor for sure. And,
Mhm.
I think the more we get into understanding our intuition and really listening to it, the more that, trust factor really comes in.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm curious, is there any herb that can help people learn to trust intuition?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many out there in so many different forms. I personally really love to work with clary sage essential oil for that. It's excellent if you put it on your third eye, if you're meditating, or if you're just having a moment in life where you need to like ground down and kind of just feel what you need to feel and listen to what you need to listen to.
I love that. I love it. I have a little roller ball um, that I
Hmm.
keep on my desk, and it is a fifth chakra voice
Hmm.
activator
Hmm.
because I do so much work with my voice. So I'm always like, yep, we'll just like put a little on and
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah. I mean herbs in general are so powerful, but then you look at essential oils and they're almost even more powerful in a lot of ways because they're so highly concentrated and
Mhm.
potent, like potent. A little tiny bit goes a long, long way. And there's,
Yeah.
there's a lot of education around essential oils with like what to use and how to use it and how not to use it, and all those
Hmm.
things. But I love talking to people about that and just kind of educating on just the potency of one drop of an essential oil and
Mm,
how much plant material it takes to like make one drop of plant material or a 5 milliliter, a tiny little bottle, is a lot of plant material. Mhm.
absolutely. And one of the things, I'm a Reiki master and I was trained to use essential oils as part of my practice. And one
Hmm.
of the things that I was taught is how important it is to use a carrier oil if
Hmm.
you're going to have it touch the skin. I wonder
Yes.
if you can talk to people a little bit about that, just so that in case somebody's inspired by our conversation about any of these herbs or essential oils, they go out and buy the oils so that they can safely use them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want to use either a carrier oil or some sort of water base so that you're diluting that. I will tell this story because it's one of my most favorite stories and it's very memorable. But one of the classes I took with Rosemary Gladstar, who's, the grandmother of herbalism really in the United States, She was talking about how she had made a big bathtub of water for her husband because he was sick. And she put like one drop of oregano essential oil in that whole bathtub, and it burned his skin, and you're thinking,
Mm.
wow, okay,
Mhm.
that really puts into like a visual level of understanding the potency of certain essential oils. They say with essential oils, you always want to kind of test them out either like, in an area like your wrist or, someplace that if you have a reaction before you ever use it, it's a smart move to do before you dive into them. But you always want to have some sort of like carrier to like kind of dilute it down before you use just a direct essential oil.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So we've talked a little bit about essential oils, and you pointed to something. You pointed to the idea that essential oils and herbs might be different.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, just to kind of break down an essential oil and what it is. So if you are touching a plant, for example, let's say you touch rosemary or you touch peppermint, and you smell that on your fingers, that is basically the volatile oils that the essential oils come from. So that's what you're getting, when you touch it or as taken and extracted into an essential oil. So if you're using it, fresh or dried, you're still going to be getting those components. But what they've done is taken and really consolidated down into a really high potency and extracted that essential oil, from the plant itself. And so um, they're both great and wonderful, and you're both going to have amazing results with herbs as far as whether it's a tea or fresh or, essential oil. But definitely knowing the potency levels of things is really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if we look to our kitchen
Hmm.
and what many of us might have in the cupboard, I would guess that we probably have some really potent herbs just hanging out in our regular kitchens. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And in fact, this is like an internal battle that I have with myself every time we talk about like the difference of spices versus like medicinals.
Mhm.
Because every single spice in your cabinet is going to have some sort of medicinal property to them. It's kind of hard to in my brain, from a business standpoint when I'm trying to categorize things like, oh, this is a spice or this is a bulk herb. They're really, all very similar, and they're definitely all going to have lots of great, great medicinal properties to them. Um, so I'm sure everyone has a stocked medicinal, pantry, and they just don't even really realize what else there.
Okay, so I just want to repeat that to make sure I caught that. I
Hmm.
think I heard you say that every spice has medicinal properties.
Every spice will have some sort of medicinal property. I've never come across one that doesn't. I'll say that. So,
Wow. Okay, that is super cool. What are
mhm.
some common ones we might have around that we
Yeah.
could use?
Absolutely. So garlic is a great one. It's excellent for the immune system. It's obviously got lots of like antibacterial properties, antimicrobials, antifungal. Ginger is also an excellent one that's in a lot of people's kitchens. That one is a little hot. So, if you have problems with things like acid reflux or something, you might not necessarily want to use that, but it can be excellent for like nausea or, digestion issues, things like that. Rosemary is another one that's one of my favorites. I mean, it's again a little bit on the hot side of things if you have some heat sensitivities, and depending on your constitution, but it's excellent for, stimulation. It's used for hair growth and things of that nature. It can also be great for respiratory situations, like if you have a head cold going on, throwing some of that in a pot on your stove really can clear things up. Clove also is one of my other favorites. Again, it could be helpful for digestion, but it also is a great pain reliever. If you have a sore throat, or not sore throat, if you have a tooth or your gums are hurting, then that can be something that you can chew on the clove itself, and that can help to relieve some of the pain. Um, There's so many. I mean, I feel like we could go on and on for
Wow.
days.
Can
So,
I ask a question? You said when you were talking about rosemary, depending on your constitution, can
hmm
you say more about what that might mean?
Yeah, I mean, some people have like a hot constitution or a damp constitution, and so that really can play into gosh, I'm so sorry. My cat just decided to come in here and rampage everything. So, all right. So sorry about that. Okay, so what were we, oh yeah, the constitutions. And so if everybody's constitutions are slightly different, whether you're damp or cool may make a big difference in what type of plant you might use. For example, if you are a damp constitution, you might want to use something like sage leaf because that's really drying and cooling. Or you might also want to use that ginger or use cayenne or even cinnamon and clove because they have some of those warming, rosemary that they have those warming properties. But if you're somebody that, is hot, you might want something that's a little more cooling, like peppermint or spearmint or things of in that vein of herbs.
So, how would somebody know if they were damp or cool or hot?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that like a good way to recognize that is like if you're more of a hot constitution, you probably are a little bit like redder. You might sweat more. You might get flushed a lot faster. Whereas if you're like a damp constitution, like are you cold all the time? Like those are more almost like circulatory type things that are
Hmm.
in there. But, diving into those things are something that you could do when you do like a consultation and really kind of get into them, into the nitty-gritty of what those things are. So,
I love that.
yeah.
And so, what you're suggesting is that we could have a consultation and learn more about our own system and what herbs might be best for us.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a 30-minute sliding scale through the nonprofit where people can get in there. And we also have full, hour consultations and things like that. But, when I closed the retail store and moved everything all online, I really wanted everybody to have that same opportunity to be able to get on a call with us and have questions answered like they would if they walked into the shop. And so that's where that sliding scale, like 30-minute consultation, and with that being said, like I'll never turn somebody away if somebody's like, I can't afford that, but I need to talk to somebody. Like that's also kind of part of the nonprofit aspect is that we can really get in there and help anybody in any possible way. So
So, this would be a great time for you to tell us about the work that you do, specifically about the shop, how we can learn more about the shop, and then tell us also about the nonprofit.
yeah, absolutely. So the whole company is actually now a nonprofit. I changed everything over in September of 2023. And a big part of that is just the community outreach that I think is really important. Herbal medicine is truly like the medicine for the people. I want to help educate people that they can grow some of these herbs, especially, depending on where you are. Like, I mean, anywhere you live, there's things that you can grow. And so I think it's really, really important to like help educate, to bring, free clinics to different areas. Like we're involved with the People's Health Clinic here in Portland, where we do a once a month free clinic for houseless folks, and really help them try to get into some better lifestyle habits and wellness practices. Before we ever dive into any herbs or things of that nature, I want to help people to create a safe space for them so that their wellness can grow and evolve. With that being said, we do all kinds of events. We're doing events with Pickathon, we're doing events with Good Medicine Confluence, we're doing the free clinics. We've done some work with Rahab Sisters where we made herbal mocktails, and so again, I'm a huge advocate of food as medicine. And so, I don't necessarily think every person needs to take a pill necessarily. It's more like how can I incorporate this into your, day-to-day life and help folks understand those processes.
That is amazing. And I feel like it's always been important, but it feels even more important right now to
Mhm.
vote with our dollars for the things that really matter. And so, will you tell us, we're not done, we're not wrapping up, but I want people to know, how can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to our website, and it's the Herb Shop, and that's SHOPPE PDX.com. And that has all kinds of information. You can also get onto our newsletter because we're sending out, constant recipes and information, how-to tips on allergies and, whatever it might be. There's a lot of great content that's already on the website, but I definitely recommend, getting onto our newsletter. We're also, I think, on every social media platform that is out there. And again, kind of trying to put as much information out there for folks to have the resources that we need. I try really hard to focus on things that are important in the moment. Like, for example, right now is allergy season. So,
Mhm.
all the content that's going to be coming out, through this month is going to be related to seasonal allergies or, ways to improve that and within your own health spectrum. So,
I love that. So, just for reference, we're recording in March of 2025. So, depending on
mhm.
when this episode airs, you might want to scroll back through some of those blog posts to find the ones on allergies.
Yes, absolutely. And within herbal medicine, we're really touching on pretty much anything that you might go to a regular doctor for. So, whether that is allergies or whether that's stress or pain or sleep, digestion, detoxing, like whatever it might be, there's, we're working with all the things that we all are dealing with, all the time for the most part.
I love this. So, a lot of the people that are listening are high achievers, they're
Mhm.
leaders, they're very intuitive, they're probably empathic, and stress is something that can really impact the ability to show up as a leader and the
Mhm.
ability to access intuition. So, what are a
Yes.
couple things we might be able to use to help reduce or manage stress?
Yeah, there are a million herbs actually out there that are great for the nervous system. This kind of goes into also, I feel like, we are really provided on this earth with all the things that we need.
Mhm.
And so when you see, multiple plants for stress or multiple plants for, let's just say the nervous system in general, like there are plenty, passion flower is a really great one, which we kind of talked about a little bit. Lemon balm is a great one, also very gentle and great for children as well. There is lavender, of course, and chamomile. Rose can be really great, especially if you're maybe going through some like heart healing things as well. It's very grounding. And then there's herbs that, may be more considered like sedative. So, they still fall under the umbrella of the nervous system or what's considered a nervine, but you're looking at things like California poppy or valerian or hops even pedicularis. There's again tons of those, and most of the time when we're formulating, we're trying to keep those things in mind. We don't want to make a sleep blend for somebody that's just trying to work on their nervous system the day to day, you
Right.
know. And so there's lots of things that lots of herbs that can be really helpful for the nervous system. We make a whole line called the Here and Now blend, which is great for stress and anxiety, but is going to keep you awake during the day. It's not going to, knock your socks off and make you feel like I need to go take a nap. So that's really important when it comes to formulations.
Yes. And I love what you're suggesting here is that by working with you, you can get custom blends.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, is there is there anything about counterindications? Like, would there be certain classes of medications that people would be on that might suggest that they need to make sure they're working with somebody with knowledge to make sure that there's not a problem with the medicine?
Absolutely. And that's a really great thing to bring up. I think that if you're on any type of prescription medications, you should definitely be working with a practitioner as well. We do have a list on our resources page on the website that has contraindications in there. And it has quite a bit of them. But, again, medicine's always changing and evolving. So it's always great to work with, if you have a naturopath or even an MD or whoever you're working with in collaboration with us so that we can make sure that we're all making sure everyone is safe within that realm.
That is amazing. And I had forgotten this until this conversation, but I had a pre-cancer diagnosis in the 20 teens, like 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to do a very invasive procedure. And I was like, no, I know my body can handle this. And so I went to a naturopath. That was my segue. That was what made me remember this. And the naturopath had this tea that she had made from a local herbalist, and it tasted really quite awful. And I drank it every day, twice a day for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and there was no trace
That's
of the
amazing.
precancer. And I was doing some other things too, as far as wellness, making sure I was eating properly and resting
Mm-hmm.
properly and hydrating and all the things. But I know that that tea had a massive impact on my wellness.
Yeah, there is quite a few medicinal mushrooms as well as herbs that can be great for cancer. And again, like your food and your food intake can make a huge impact on that as well. What you're putting into your body, obviously, you're gonna get good results, with what you're doing if you're putting good stuff in. There are a couple of blends that I know for sure, like the Estiac tea which was created by a doctor in Canada, Dr. Cassia, which is Essiac backwards. That is a blend that's very specific for tumors and things of that nature. But then there's things like reishi mushroom that is known as like the mushroom of immortality, and there's been a lot of great results with some of those medicinal mushrooms for cancer and immune system and kind of regulating and keeping you healthy through processes like that.
So good to know. So good to know. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, do you have like a personal daily regimen that you use for herbs, or do you mix and match depending on what's happening?
I do mix and match. I will say that the one that I use probably the most consistently is my Soulshine blend, which is an adrenal blend. Because I mean, like myself, like many people in this world, like we're all really, really fatigued and our adrenals are super burnt out because we're moving in 700 different directions all the time. And the adrenal is also connected to so many things like the thyroid and so many other things in the body.
Mhm.
So really making sure that adrenals are, recharged and nourished is really important. Also, they're kind of this, I feel like they're like a magic gland. When you start working with adrenal herbs, they can either, they bring balance to the body, so if you can't sleep, then you can use an adrenal gland to help blend to help balance that out. Or maybe you're on the opposite end of the spectrum where you're so like exhausted and lethargic, so it helps to kind of balance those out, and that's really what adrenal herbs are great for.
That is so cool. So
Mhm.
cool. Is chamomile considered an herb?
Chamomile is an herb, yes. And it's a great nervous system herb. It's also great for children. Again, when we're looking at formulas and blends and things, you want to be careful about what you're putting in things for, maybe a pregnant person or children, or, like you're saying, somebody that maybe is on some other medication. There's lots of things. And that's one reason why we custom blend too, because if, folks can't get if they need something that's going to help them and they can't have, valerian, for example, then we can make something specific for them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I heard you say, when you were talking about constitutions, the hot and the damp, and that is a term that my acupuncturist has often used.
Hmm.
And she's trained in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I'm curious, is there an overlap in herbal medicine between Chinese medicine?
There is, there's a lot of differences as well. What we work with is mainly Western herbalism, which is plants that are, grown here in the States. They're ones that have been taught by the elders of the communities here. However, we do cross over with Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, and there's a lot of similarities. There may be slight differences on like maybe how you use them or why you use them, but that things like ashwagandha or turmeric are great examples of those that are really popular, today in today's society. But they originally came from Ayurvedic medicine or like Chinese medicine. Same thing. There's lots that kind of flow from that vein that we do work with as well.
That's amazing. So when I went to Bali, my friend is married to a man who is Indonesian.
Hmm.
And so we went all together for part of this retreat. And I can't remember, I think I had a sunburn or something. Well, I mean, I for sure had a sunburn, but they
Um,
got this oil called Cutis Cutis, and it's
mm, hmm
Kutus.
hmm
And I tried a little bit of my friends and I was like, okay, how many bottles of this can I take back with me? And so I took as many as I could because it smelled so good and it felt so good and my skin healed. Turns out you can use it topically for stomach pain, for cuts, for bug bites, for sunburns, obviously. It's also like high vibe. It helps like change your vibration if you're stuck in negative thoughts. It's like this miracle oil, and it's written in Balinese,
hmm
so I don't have the translation for the ingredients, but some of the ingredients that I was able to translate include black cumin
hmm
and um, citronella
hmm
and oh, I'm spacing. I just sent my friend a text the other day, but it's this whole turmeric was one of them. I think that was my cue.
hmm
And all these other oils, and it's just the coolest thing I've ever felt. So anyway, if you want to look up Cutis oil.
Yeah, I definitely will have to check that out. I mean, there's so many plants out there, that it's there's crossover like we're talking about, but it's amazing that there's still so many herbs out there that I don't even know anything about after 14 years. And herbalism, I feel is really a life journey. Like I
Mhm.
even within the shop, there's so many herbs there that I personally may not ever have to use, but that's kind of the beautiful part of interaction with other customers and getting their feedback on things. But I will definitely check that out. And I kind of wanted to like talk about also a little bit with the fact that oils are going on the skin and things. Our skin is our largest organ, and I think people don't
Mhm.
always relate that is also medicine that we're putting on topically, but it really is, and it can be really potent, like you're saying, for digestion or, whether it's pain and inflammation, whatever it might be. The topical herbs are and essential oils are going, directly into your largest organ. So
Mhm.
that is a really great way to apply them, and usually a little bit gentler sometimes than maybe taking it as a tincture or capsule or tea.
You made me think of something, which is, I mean, yes, our skin is our largest organ, and often we forget that when we buy random things from the store, whether it's a lotion or a fragrance. I'm curious, um, do you have product recommendations for clean beauty for um,
Hmm.
different kinds of skincare?
Absolutely. We actually make a whole skincare line as well because that was one of the first things that I fell in love with within herbal medicine was making my own skincare products and not wanting so many of the chemicals and things that are in so many products. Again, that kind of goes into like, this is a lifestyle. This is a life journey. I never am going to tell somebody, go throw away everything that you have in your house because that's wasteful. But when you slowly start bringing things in, like your skincare or maybe your cleaning products or things for your pets or your kids, whatever it might be, you really kind of start looking at those ingredients and going, okay, I can tell that that's nettles and that's chamomile, but I don't even know how to pronounce that word or what that is. Like, it's good to
Mhm.
have that awareness of what is going, in your space on your body, all the people that you love, things like that. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely in our bodies and in our air.
Yes, yes, for sure. I mean, we kind of talked a little bit, but I feel like there is an awakening and an awareness that has been happening, for a while. But really, COVID did this crazy thing with us where all of a sudden everybody's like, wait, hold on, what is that? Do I want that in my body? Don't I want that in my body? And that really has been a really beautiful trickle effect to educate people, that herbal medicine is here for all of us, and it's not, although there are precautions and things like that, there, I feel like, is a plant for every person for whatever they might have going on. And culturally, it's been used across the world for so many things. And it's amazing to me how, hundreds of years ago, somebody in Asia and somebody in South America might have been using the exact same plant for the exact same thing, but there's no cell phones, there's no internet, there's no like communication. So, those are downloaded messages from those, plants and from our ancestors. And, so it's powerful. It's powerful medicine.
That's amazing. This has been such a cool conversation. And it's got me really thinking about, first of all, I want to go check out the blog and I want to
Yes.
find out all the medicines that might be in my cupboard, in my spice cabinet, because I do have a thing for spices. It's just when I moved recently, there were two boxes of spices, two like big boxes full of spices, because I've got these
Hmm.
spinning spice wheels.
Oh,
And
nice.
then
Yeah.
I don't stick to that. I still just like also, oh, I need this random spice for something.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to do that. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes so everyone can go take a look. Is there anything else before we close that you want to make sure our listeners know?
Yeah, absolutely. So for listening today, we have a 20% coupon that is going out for a one-time purchase. And the code, which I think Brenda can share this with everyone, is Brenda. So I felt like that was a great one to put out there. And you can use that on any of our products that are on the website. If you want a custom blend, reach out and we can help you with that, with creating that and apply that discount as well.
That is
Um,
so generous. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so go check out the website, connect with Amanda on social, and I'll put all of your links in the show notes. So it's just one click and easily done. Thank you for being here today. It's been
Yeah, thanks
wonderful.
for having me. It's awesome. I love to talk about it. Anytime you want to talk about herbs, I'm here.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. I hope that you loved this episode as much as Amanda and I loved creating it for you. There is so much information. You might even want to go back and listen again. And invitation to share this episode with someone you care about because there's so much important knowledge about plants and herbs and essential oils and medicinal spices. It's just amazing what we all have access to. I'm going to put all of Amanda's links in the show notes, so be sure that you go check them out. And as a reminder, your Yes Filled Life Group coaching program is enrolling now. You've built the success. You're respected, accomplished, good at what you do. Now it's time to enjoy it differently. This fall, join me for Your Yes Filled Life, a 12-week high-touch group experience designed for ambitious, intuitive leaders. Together, we'll work with nervous system tools, energetic alignment, and voice activation practices to help you lead with clarity, calm, and resonance without overgiving, overthinking, or over explaining. Enrollment is open now at brendawinkle.com/, your yes filled life. Your yes filled life is waiting for you. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you loved this episode, would you please consider going to give it a rating and review wherever you're listening? It takes just 30 seconds and it means more to the growth of the podcast than just about anything else. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.